All right, let's get right into it. Today we are taking a deep dive into one of the year's most talked about movies, the super slick, star-powered heist thriller Crime 101. We're going to look at what makes this thing tick from its high stick setup all the way to the final score. So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll cover the overall vibe and what the movie's all about. Then we'll get into the plot and the pacing. After that, we'll analyze the filmmaking itself, dig into the deeper themes, and then, of course, wrap it all up with our final verdict and a score. Let's do this. This one line from a behind the scenes feature it tells you everything you need to know about the heart of crime 101. This is a movie with that classic cynical Noir feel. Where that hunger for more and just sheer desperation are basically the same thing. This is definitely not a story about good guys. Okay, so what kind of movie are we really talking about here? From the very first scene, Crime 101 lets you know it's a serious grown-up thriller. It's way more interested in the why behind the crime, not just the how. And I mean, just look at the team they put together. You've got director Bart Layton. And if you saw American Animals, you know this guy is the real deal when it comes to crime stories. Then you throw on Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, and Halle Berry, adapting a story from a legend like Don Winslow with a $90 million budget. Yeah, the expectations were definitely through the roof. The basic setup is just classic. It's that perfect crime story we all love. There's this master thief who's been pulling off these impossible jobs all along California's 101 freeway, and now he's gearing up for his one last giant score. Problem is, there's a detective who's starting to connect the dots, and an insurance broker who gets stuck right in the middle of it all. It's a textbook cops and robbers story set against that gritty, sun-scorched LA landscape. Okay, so we know the setup, but how does the story actually unfold? Is this a non-stop high-octane thrill ride, or is it something different? And don't worry, we're keeping this completely spoiler-free, just talking about the mechanics. What the movie does so brilliantly is it puts these three people on paths that you just know are going to crash into each other. You've got Hemsworth's thief planning his masterpiece, Barry's broker hitting a personal crisis, and Ruffalo's detective just refusing to let go. The film jumps between them, and with every single scene, you can feel that knot getting tighter and tighter. Personally, I thought the pacing was fantastic. This isn't a frantic jump cut every 2 seconds kind of movie. It's a slow burn. And man, does it build some serious tension. If you're thinking Ocean's 11, think again. It's way more like Michael Mann's Heat. The director, Layton, is so confident. He just lets the suspense build. Focusing on the planning, the mind games, it's a movie that trusts you to be invested in the characters, not just the explosions. All right, so a great story is one thing, but how is it all actually put together? Let's get into the nuts and bolts of the filmmaking, the acting, the look, and the whole feel of the movie. At the absolute heart of this movie is this amazing cat and mouse game. Mark Ruffalo is just all obsession and grit as this detective who lives and breathes his case. And on the other side, you've got Chris Hemsworth using that movie star charisma to play a criminal who seems to be smarter than everyone else in the room. They are fantastic together. And then there's this line. It's so simple, but it tells you everything about Halle Berry's character. She is the total wild card in the story, caught between these two powerful men, and she's hiding her own desperate situation. Berry plays that conflict just perfectly, and it's a great example of how sharp and memorable the dialogue is throughout the whole film. One of the things that really stands out is just how real it all feels. By shooting on location and get this, even shutting down parts of the actual 101 freeway to film, Layton just grounds the entire movie in this gritty reality. LA isn't just a pretty background here, it feels like its own character, huge, hot, and full of dark corners. So yeah, it's a heist movie, but what's it really about? What's the big idea humming just underneath the surface? Let's dig in and see if it all holds together. The entire film really hangs on this one concept. This phrase they actually use in the movie Walk Away Money, and it's more than just a plot point. It's the central question of the whole story. How much is ever really enough? Is there some magic number that lets you buy a whole new life? Or is it the chase itself? That's the real addiction. So in the end, this isn't really a movie about stealing jewels. The film is really digging into these big universal ideas of greed and obsession, but also something else. Time. Every single main character is running out of it, and that feeling, that desperation, is what pushes them to make the choices they do. It's powerful stuff. Okay, we've talked about the story, the acting, the themes, all of it. Now it's time for the big one, the final call on Crime 101. Is this a must-see, or can you give it a skip? And just for some context, let's talk money for a second. This was not a cheap movie to make. With a $90 million budget, the stakes are pretty high. An opening weekend of $27 million around the world is a respectable start, but it's going to need to keep drawing crowds to be a true hit. So for me, here's the bottom line. Crime 101 is exactly what it promises to be. A smart, cool, and super tense thriller for adults. It delivers on the talent involved, and honestly, it's the kind of movie I wish we saw more of. Which brings me to the score. After thinking all over, I'm giving Crime 101 a very, very solid 7.8 out of 10. So what does a 7.8 mean? Well, that puts it firmly in our good watch category. It's a solid choice. It might not be a perfect once-in-a-decade masterpiece, but it's an incredibly well-made film for anyone who loves a smart crime story. That's more about suspense than it is about big explosions. And I guess I'll just leave you with the same question the movie leaves you chewing on. No matter who you are or what you do, is there really such a thing as walkaway money? Is there a number that would make you just stop? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me